What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Harrison, and it's been about a week and a half ish since I've made a video. I kind of wanted to take a little bit of a break, mainly because Zelda, right? I was making a ton of content around Zelda and some other video stuff, so I wanted to take a break so I could actually focus on playing Zelda. And boy, is it good! If you want to hear more about my thoughts and stuff on Zelda, I'm sure next week when we do our Gaming with the Bros Cast podcast, we'll be talking more about that. I'm about a little over 40 hours in, so I'm definitely in there, and it's God, is it is it good? Is it? I mean, I just don't see anything being for me game of the year. I don't see anything being it. But let's get to the point of today's video. I kind of want to talk about the state of video games in general, and we're going to really focus down on Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation. So I'll start with Nintendo first, just because we don't know any directs or anything like that coming out here in the near future. I know there's usually a June direct, but with them skipping out on E3, we just don't quite know with Nintendo. So we'll start with Nintendo. They've had a banger year. They've had a banger couple of years, with Xenoblade, with I like Bayonetta 3, Fire Emblem, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You either loved it or hate it for the most part. I did play some Violet, and it was I liked it, but it was pretty janky. And I know that's where the conversation came up again about the Switch and how powerful it is, and looking at something comparing Pokemon Violet with Zelda. Granted, Pokemon Violet was probably made within a two to 3 year maybe period, while Tears of the Kingdom took 6 years and some change to make. So a lot more development time, and honestly, I think Pokemon could be a great video game if they give it more time. I don't think the last few have been really great. Pokemon Arceus was good, but that's besides the point. I want to talk about Nintendo and where I feel like they're going to be going in the near future. Obviously a lot of people want a new piece of hardware, and I get it. I do too. I would love for them to come out next month in June and give us an awesome direct, announce the next, the follow-up to the Switch coming out fall of this year or maybe spring of 2024, launch Metroid and all that awesome stuff. So that's where I would like Nintendo to go in the near future. I don't know if they will. Tears of the Kingdom has came out and it is blowing people away. I just don't know how they do it. Nintendo they're some wizards. Their programming team is absolute wizards. I know people have said that a million times, but they just know how to develop on their own console. And yeah, it's definitely underpowered, but there's really no other game like it. No other game is you're going from the sky to the surface all the way underground in one fell swoop without any sort of loading. Yeah, there's some pop in here and there, but it's a pretty seamless transition. I don't want this video to be Zelda talk, but man, you just don't see the other consoles doing the stuff that Nintendo's doing with Zelda. And so that's my opinion on Nintendo right now. I think Nintendo is on the top of the world. Nintendo is always kind of up there. They sell the most games. They sell the most consoles. They've had a dip over the last year in sales, and obviously, people are, Nintendo is failing. It's like, no, they're not failing. They've won the last 2 generations. They're sweeping everybody. Yeah, everybody and their mom has a Switch now. So yeah, you're gonna see sales decline. And obviously it helps when you have, the Zelda themed Switch and Pokemon themed Switch and stuff like that. So it boosts sales a little bit for people that are double dipping, triple dipping, stuff like that. So yeah, I want Nintendo. I think after Zelda, we're getting Pikmin in July, and then after that, we know nothing. So maybe that's a good time to announce the follow up to the Switch, and go from there. So I think I'm really high on Nintendo right now. Obviously, Zelda super helps with that, but the Xenoblade 3 DLC, really really great stuff. Next up, I'll talk about PlayStation, because obviously they have their PlayStation Showcase tomorrow, and I believe it's Showcase and not a State of Play. So the Showcase is where they pull out the big guns. So I'm expecting this thing to be massive. I think PlayStation now that the Activision Blizzard deal it's still absolutely in effect, and it's probably gonna happen at this point. I think now that we're kind of getting past that, we're kind of moving on. PlayStation's gonna drop some big stuff. So I expect to see Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 2, maybe Wolverine. I know those are both developed by Insomniac, but Spider-Man's coming out this year, probably Wolverine next year. I'm expecting to see some awesome Spider-Man gameplay. And yeah, my hopes from PlayStation is either a Bloodborne 2, which I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love to see a Bloodborne remaster or remake, whatever you want to call it. Maybe Bluepoint Games that did the Demon Souls remake, maybe they could hop on that. I would love to play Bloodborne on a modern console and 60 frames per second. I think that could be super excellent. Maybe we see the Elden Ring DLC, the Erdtree DLC at the PlayStation Showcase. I don't know if that would be there, or maybe that would be with Xbox's June Showcase. Either way, I want to see that at one of those. And then I've just seen a lot of speculation, like maybe I don't think we see a God of War game. I don't think we see any sort of God of War anything. No spinoff. I just don't see it. Maybe. And I don't think we're getting DLC with this one either. They didn't do DLC with the 2018 God of War, so I don't expect to see DLC with this game. But I could be wrong. Obviously, we're going to see some PSVR 2 stuff. I don't know. I just don't think the PSVR 2 is performing as well as they wanted it to be, and I didn't really expect it to perform well. But maybe that's just me. I think VR is still a very, very niche thing, and to pay $550 for the VR2 is crazy. I just think it's absolutely absurd. So maybe we'll see a price drop for that. I have no idea. We'll see some more games from that for that platform, but I think we're probably going to get the Pro. As much as I don't think we really even scratched the surface of this current generation by either console, and I'm gonna get some hate, but I don't think God of War was a cross-gen game. Absolutely not a current gen game. Same thing with Horizon. Now I know the DLC came out and that was really good and people loved it. So maybe the DLC is more of like a current gen thing. I haven't played it, so maybe that just could not physically run on a PS4 Pro, whatever. But yeah, I think we're probably gonna get some sort of PS4, or excuse me, PS5 Pro, PS5 Slim. I would love to see a Slim. I'm itching to get a PlayStation 5. I want them to show some games that can only be played on the PS5, for me to have a reason to purchase one. I've got my Xbox Series X that I play all my third party stuff, so I'm good there. I play God of War Ragnarok, so I've played that. There just hasn't been anything else that's drawn me into the PlayStation, and maybe showing off Spider-Man, that'll do it. Bloodborne, I would love to see that, of course. And what else? Other than the Pro, there's the rumored cloud, the kind of the remote play device, the handheld device, but it was it's attached to your home Wi-Fi. This is all speculation, but it's attached to your PlayStation, like the PlayStation Vita was with its remote play. So if they announced that, I think that would be kind of a dud to me. I would much prefer them just go back into the handheld market again with a PlayStation Vita or PlayStation Portable something. But with them, diving in again with the VR2 and maybe that not doing so well, I don't think they want a third thing that could potentially not do great with obviously the Switch out in the market and Steam Deck and a bunch of other, really great handheld devices. So I don't know if they jump into that market again, but that's obviously a possibility. What else would we want from PlayStation at this point? I think we'll probably see the Last of Us Factions multiplayer thing. I don't know. I didn't really play much of the Last of Us multiplayer on the original game back on the PS3. Or PS4, whichever. I think they both had it. I only played a couple of rounds. I really liked the Uncharted multiplayer, so I know Naughty Dog can make a good multiplayer. So I'm not writing it off necessarily, but I'm assuming they're going to bring in their, their single player storytelling chops into this and give us a reason to play it. Um, I don't want it to really be a live service game, but I'm sure it will be. So I have no idea what this thing is, right? But I'm sure they'll implement some sort of story based thing into factions, and bring over the Last of Us fans to get them in there. Yeah. What else? What else could we see? What else could they kind of dig up? Again, I'm expecting this showcase to be massive, right? I'm expecting it to be huge. Obviously, we'll probably see Final Fantasy there, since that's a PlayStation exclusive. We'll probably see. We may have PlayStation may announce an acquisition, right? Who do they get? Do they get Square Enix? Do they get Capcom? I think, Capcom is pretty huge. They've had so many banger games, but Square Enix feels kind of right. A lot of their games have been exclusive, especially Final Fantasy, so that feels like that would make the most sense. But Capcom's an absolute possibility. Maybe we'll see something Resident Evil related. I'm not quite sure. We just got RE4, so maybe they'll announce the Separate Ways DLC at this event. Either way, I'm very hyped. I have not been this excited for a PlayStation showcase / state of play in a very long time, mainly because I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, so I can't play anything. But this feels like we're finally jumping into current gen stuff, right? We're finally diving into what the power of the PlayStation 5 Series X can give us. And with stuff like Star Wars Survivor coming out and kind of not running super great, it definitely worries me, of course. So yeah, I think PlayStation's gonna have a huge show. So let's talk about Xbox, right? Xbox has not had a great start to this generation. I think they're worse than PlayStation. Again, we talked about PlayStation before, with I don't think any of the games that are on the system yet have truly been current gen. And Xbox is 0, right? We had Halo Infinite, which I loved. That's one of my favorite Halo campaigns of all time. I thought the open world was great. The grappling point is like the best grappling hook or shot, whatever you want to call it, in video games, period. It feels so good to play with. I really like the multiplayer. Now it's so hard for something like Halo to adapt to the modern multiplayer needs of gamers, because if you're not Fortnite, it's really hard to keep up, right? Because gamers just expect a constant, very quick drip feed of content, right? And Fortnite has 1,000 developers, constantly making skins and doing events and making new guns and all this stuff. And even stuff like Call of Duty is struggling to kind of match that and keep gamers satisfied. Gamers have just gotten to a point where we just constantly need stuff, and I'm definitely out of that multiplayer space. I much prefer single player stuff. And don't even get me started on live service games. I don't like live service. I think they're, most of them are pretty garbage at this point. Outside of like maybe Destiny. Halo was kind of doomed to fail, and it seems like they're getting it right with their third season, and for the fourth season's get ready to drop next month. So it seems like they're getting there, but I just don't know. I would hate to be a multiplayer only developer right now. It's just so hard. It's very difficult to develop multiplayer games these days, because gamers are just so finicky and just want so much content all the time. So I hate that for them. And then obviously they had Forza Horizon 5 come out, which was great, but it's kind of a racing game, so it is a little bit of a niche game. And then nothing, right? There's a lot of good stuff on Game Pass. They came out last year. Pentiment from Obsidian came out. Grounded went 1.0 last year. Both of those are, I haven't played the 1.0 for Grounded, but from what I've heard, both of those games are very good, and they're both from Obsidian, which is kind of funny. We had A Plague Tale come out last year. That was a Game Pass game, so that was huge for Xbox, but not exclusive to Xbox. And then they launched the year 2023 with Hi-Fi Rush. They had the developer direct. We saw Redfall, we saw Hi-Fi Rush, and that shadow drop. We saw Forza, which looks incredible. And then Redfall came out, and it's not a great game. It's not good. Even if it was polished, there's just nothing there. It's just very, very bland, very, very boring. Not a live service game, but it feels like it was trying to be, and they maybe stripped out some of the stuff. I don't know what they were quite doing with Redfall. It's not good. And then, we got the direct coming out, the showcase coming out next month for Xbox, and they've got to nail it out of the park. They've got to come out and say Starfield is 60 frames per second just to shut those people up. Starfield's got to release. It's a Bethesda game, so we already know it's gonna be buggy, so they're already gonna have that against them. But Redfall feels like it just needs to be that killer app for Xbox. It needs to come out. It needs to be incredible and blow people away. And I just don't know if it can live up to it, but we'll see. And for Xbox in general, I don't think we see anything console wise. We're not seeing some sort of Series X Pro. I don't know. I don't love the Xbox branding as far as like the Series stuff goes. I just prefer PlayStation, like 4 or 5, whatever. It just feels more natural, but it is what it is. It's always hard to get around that branding, like the iPhone 4S Plus Max. It's confusing and annoying. It's not really confusing for me necessarily because I'm in that space and I'm always kind of watching and looking, but for someone that's kind of outside of gaming and they come in, they're like, oh, the Series S or the Series X, X is later on in the alphabet, so maybe that one's the better one. It's bigger, it looks, whatever. So I don't think we see anything console wise, but we got to see a lot of stuff. There's a lot of studios that Xbox has acquired over the last few years, and we haven't seen much of anything about Fable. Hellblade, where is that at? There's so much stuff that they could show us and blow us away, but they just got to show us, and they've got to show us, and they've got to get us concrete. Don't give us release dates and they're not be concrete. They've got to be concrete release dates, out in a couple months type of deal. They did last year where they said everything, shown the showcase is going to be out in the year, and a lot of it wasn't. Hollow Knight, one of those. I could think it could be huge if they showed Hollow Knight off, Silksong off, because it's going to be on Game Pass day 1. So if they could show us Hollow Knight and give us maybe a release date for that, that could be really cool. I doubt they give us a release date, but at least they could show us more. So, Xbox has the most to lose at this point, obviously. Game Pass and that goodwill could only take you so far. And when there's no games to back that up, it begins to become a huge problem. So yeah, I think Xbox has the most to lose, but also, the most to gain. They have a lot of great studios and a lot of great franchises to work on. I'd love to see more Gears. So we talked about the big three. And then just in general, the space of gaming is, I don't know, we have an incredible game like Zelda drop, and people, mainly the PlayStation community, I don't know why people are so obsessed with like photorealistic graphics, but that's not the end all be all. And I'm not coming after the PlayStation community and the Sony fanboys, because one, you guys are insufferable. I'm sorry. I know you love I know you love your PlayStations, but you guys are insufferable, and it's incredibly annoying to have a conversation online with you guys about anything, because PlayStation first, PlayStation this, graphics, blah blah blah. And you have something come out like Tears of the Kingdom, a sequel to one of the greatest, if not the greatest game of all time. Now that's not just me saying that. That's came out from a lot of people. Follow up. The graphics are going to be the same, right? As far as like the art style goes. The game is gorgeous. If you boot up the game and play it, it's a great looking game. It's got like that semi cell shaded look, not quite like Wind Waker was, but a mixture of, I don't know, like Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, and you've got Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, and what they're doing in that game. I'm sorry, like yes, I do like my games to be pretty and gorgeous and photorealistic, but also like gameplay. I prefer gameplay over anything else, right? And Tears of the Kingdom gameplay is just incredible. what they're doing with all the building and stuff like that, it's amazing. No other game's doing anything like that. And again, this is not going back to praise on Zelda, but you know, stuff like God of War and Uncharted, and I'm picking on PlayStation, but you'll see why. And The Last of Us, amazing, incredible single player cinematic experiences, and that's PlayStation's niche, and they do it so well, right? They do it so well, but the gameplay itself isn't super interesting. And I know it's fun, right? I think it's fun, but the gameplay itself isn't super interesting. You have these really awesome set pieces like Uncharted, and it's, again, I love Uncharted. These games are great, but the stuff I think that Zelda's doing is a little bit more appealing to me, right? And again, I'm not knocking PlayStation. I love all the products. Like Spider-Man is incredible. Like, that game is absolutely amazing. The gameplay in that game is fun. Like, the swinging is fun. I really enjoy the Batman Arkham Asylum style combat. I like all that stuff. I think the gameplay in Spider-Man is probably the best of all of the PlayStation products at this point. But yeah, I think we gotta lay off on the graphic stuff. We gotta lay off on the 30 versus 60 frames per second. It's so annoying. As long as the game is great, let it be great, and let it be what it is, and not compare it to something else because, just because you prefer to play in 60. Obviously, everyone wants to play in 60, but I also feel like these new consoles should hit 60, and I'm tired of having to pick and choose between performance and fidelity mode. I think they should be able to do both, right? But a lot of these games don't. We're not there yet. I don't know why. I think these consoles were overpromised to be powerful, and they haven't been, and this is why I think we're finally getting into the current gen games. But yeah, I know I've been rambling. This is a really long video, but I wanted to kind of talk about the general state of video games as a whole, and where I feel like I'm at with all the three major platforms, plus just annoying people online. I think that's what it is. Like, Twitter is so annoying with all this comparison. Like, why are we comparing Zelda and Horizon? They're both completely different games other than their open world, right? Other than that, like, I don't get why we're comparing Zelda and Horizon, because PlayStation gamers are angry because, I don't know, it's outselling Horizon. I don't know. I generally don't know why people are comparing it, other than they're both open world. They're both exclusive to their platform. I haven't played the new Horizon. Heard it's amazing, so I don't have any opinions on it. But come on, like, why are we shouldn't be downplaying one game because you feel like your game is better. I don't get the downplaying. Like, competition is good. When you have competition, it breeds innovation. I've said this like on 3 other videos now, but it breeds innovation. It makes developers want to create more and more cool things for everyone, so everyone gets to play awesome games all the time, and that's what it boils down to. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you stuck around this long, at least like the video, comment down below what are your thoughts on everything that I talked about. Subscribe to the channel if you guys can. I would really appreciate that. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers this year. I think it's definitely possible, and that is my goal. So I would definitely appreciate the sub, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'll let YouTube algorithm pick one of my videos below for you guys to watch. Give it a click, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.